Hello and welcome to the Transportation Certification Process webinar for certifying your data in WOW or Weavis on the web. My name is Samuel Polly. I am with the WVDE Office of School Finance, and I have been with the Office of School Finance now for about 2.5 years, and I have been responsible for calculating step 4 of the state aid computations, which utilizes the data that you are certifying for your transportation collection. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with step-by-step instructions and a walkthrough of accessing the WOW program, gaining access to the bus.cert application in WOW, reviewing your various transportation data collections, making changes if errors are noted, as well as certifying your final data. Those data collections are fleet and mileage, as well as ridership. For the current year, we are requiring certification of the school year 2014-15 data. For fleet and mileage certifications, that data will be as of June 30th, 2015. For ridership data, that will be for the school year also 2014-15, but I want to remind you that that is for the October 2014 ridership collection. So that was the ridership you did a little over a year ago. First, I want to take you to the next screen, which will explain how to gain access to WOW. Your RESA or County Weavis contact will need to set up any users who don't already have a WOW user account with a new account, which will have a username and password. You'll then have to log into the program through the Weavis web, through the WOW version 2 link, which I will provide on the next screen. For transportation directors, you must be assigned the transportation director user role on your WOW account by your RESA or County Weavis contact. If you already have a WOW account, you don't have to have your RESA or County Weavis contact set you up a new account. You simply just have to have them go in and assign the trans DIR user role to your current account. That should allow you to then view the bus.cert application, which is located in the WVROSF or School Finance menu of WOW. Any other user that needs to access the program, such as bus supervisors or transportation secretaries, you'll need to get with your RESA or County Weavis contact so that they assign directly to your WOW account the bus.cert application. These users cannot certify data. They also are not able to input data for explanations of specific variances that we will require a response. Here are a few helpful links for accessing the Weavis WOW page. You can access it from the Weavis homepage, which is http://wweis.key12.wv.us/index.cfm. Or you can access it at this web link, but the easiest way is to go through the Weavis homepage, and I'll demonstrate that now. Once the Weavis homepage loads, you'll see a gray bar on the right side under the Contact Us option. The first link the second link under News Flashes is Sign On Weavis on Web or WOW version 2. You can click that link and it will bring you up to a login screen. At that point, you'll provide your user ID, actually at this time I want to remind everybody that, or just let everyone know that this actually works better when you run it through Google Chrome. The features and the format will show up a lot better in Google Chrome than it currently will show in Internet Explorer. When I click the link, it defaulted me into the Internet Explorer view, which I did not want to see. So now that I'm in Google Chrome, I'll click on the Weavis sign in link. And I'll provide my login credentials. Now that I've accessed WOW, for those of you who are transportation directors, you'll have to go over to the top right corner, right above where your username is listed, and click the drop-down menu and select your user role TransDIR. I do not have that option set up for myself since I won't be certifying any information for you guys. So you can do that now, and it will bring up your various menus. I just use the custom menu to get assigned the bus.cert application. You also want to change the fiscal year to 2015 since we are worried about certifying the 2015 school year data, which is as of June 30, 2015 for fleet and mileage, and the October 2014 ridership certifications. Once you change the year, your active menus will show up. Typically, the bus.cert option will be at the bottom under the WVROSF Office of School Finance menu. Simply click on that link, the bus.cert link, and it'll take you into the web app. As we get into the web app, I want to point out that the WVDE reports that are showing on my screen will not be available to other users, including the transportation directors. These are reports that are still in development phase or are being used by the State Department, including myself, for, in some cases, status summaries or full state level reports and things like that. You should see a total of 6 links, 2 for each type of certification, a live report and a submitted report for each one. You'll also see an instructions button at the very top, which you can click on to load the current version of the instructions for certifying your data. These instructions are very straightforward, and they should help you along the way, as well as this recorded webinar, which we will provide on the Office of School Finance website, which you can find in my presentation at this link, wvde.state.wv.us/finance. On the instructions, we first discussed the timeline for the fleet certifications and the mileage certifications. The fleet and mileage information is always as of June 30th for a given fiscal year. Therefore, the 2014-15 data that we are certifying is again as of June 30, 2015. The certification period opened on November 9th, 2015 and will continue through Friday, November 20th, 2015 by the end of the business day. Fleet and mileage information will reflect the June 30, 2015 data and the collective mileage for that fiscal year. Going forward, fleet and mileage information for school year 2015-16 and all subsequent years will be certified during the month of July, immediately following the close of the fiscal year that the data represents. The application will open on July 1st and close on July 31st each year. That'll give you a month to get your data put in for the fiscal year and to review it, submit it through the Weavis Web 2.0 application. Then look at it in the Weavis WOW application and submit and certify it to my office, the Office of School Finance. The ridership certification is a little different since it is trying to capture a moment in time of your ridership for students transported. And that is always given for the second month or the October collection for a given school year. For the 2014-15 school year, that was October 2014. That certification period also began on November 9th, 2015 and will continue through November 20th, 2015. Ridership information for the school year 2015-16, or the year ended June 30, 2016, will be certified during January 2016. The application will open on January 4th, 2016 and will close on January 28th, 2016. Ridership information for school year 2015-16 will reflect data that was recorded and submitted in October of 2015. Ridership information for 2016-17 school year and subsequent years will be certified during the month of November, immediately following the close of the second month enrollment certification. The ridership certification will open November 1st, contingent on the certified enrollment process, and close on November 30th. And again, just as with fleet and mileage, that will give you 1 month from the close of the data information to submit your data through the Weavis Web 2.0 application, review it in the WOW reporting module that I'll demonstrate momentarily, and certify the data to my office, the Office of School Finance. In the next section of the instructions, we cover the Transportation Director's role. This application requires that the Transportation Director review and certify the fleet, mileage, and ridership information, and only the Transportation Director can do this. That is why we have given the Trans DIR role only to the Transportation Director, and that is controlled by the county or RESA Weavis coordinator or contact person. If transportation directors would like for their secretaries or supervisors or someone else that they designate to have such responsibilities, they can do so, but it's still the responsibility of the transportation director to click the certification button that I will show you momentarily. Users other than the transportation director will not be able to see the fields that will require responses or the certify and submit button. Therefore, if a user other than transportation director accesses the program, they will be able to see the fields that will require a response, but will not be able to type those responses in. I would suggest that you provide those responses in a Word or an email file and give those to your transportation director to copy and paste into the text field before submitting and certifying the data. I want to also discuss the purpose and the importance of each data collection. Certified bus mileage is used to calculate the maximum allowance allowed for funding of operations and maintenance under Step 4 of the Public School Support Program, or what is commonly referred to as Step 4 of the state aid computations. Each district's allowance is limited to 1/3 above the computed state average allowance per mile multiplied by the total mileage for the district, exclusive of the allowance for the purchase of additional buses. Therefore, misreported or incomplete data can not only affect the reporting county's allowance, but also all other counties' allowances by increasing or decreasing the state average allowance per mile. Also, that can bring down each individual county's total cap on maintenance and operations and limit you on that part of step 4 of the computations. So you want to ensure that all of your mileage data is complete and accurate so that you can maximize your funding under step 4. Certified fleet information is used to calculate the allowance for bus replacement funding under step 4 of the Public School Support Program, or state aid comps. Bus replacement funding is calculated at statutory percentages of the current replacement value of each school district's school bus fleet, plus the remaining replacement value of buses purchased after July 1st, 1999 that attain their statutory mileage limit. Fleet information such as seating capacity, bus type, and bus delivery date are used by my office, the Office of School Finance, to assign current replacement values to each bus in the school district's fleet. Therefore, it's vital that such information is accurately reported and certified. For example, if you were to have a conventional regular bus that was actually 77 seats for the seating capacity, but you had it recorded as 35 seats, the state aid formula that my office uses will use the seating capacity that you've entered into your system to assign the value, replacement value, to that bus. So the system or formula would select a conventional regular bus from the bus bids that are opened each year by our Office of Purchasing and provide a value that is related to the next closest seating capacity bus for which a bid was received. So if we received a bid for a 35-passenger conventional regular bus, that would be the value that would be assigned to your bus. You would then receive the statutory percentage of that replacement value for the for the coming fiscal year funding. That could be significantly less than what you would receive on a 77-passenger bus. So it's very important that the seating capacities match the bus and that they are accurately reported. Moving on to ridership, certified ridership is used in the calculation of each county's allowable transportation costs that are reimbursable on the Medicaid annual cost report and in the WVDE Office of Transportation's consideration of each county's application for additional bus funding under Step 4 of the comps. Inaccuracies in ridership data have a direct impact on both funding sources. We also use ridership data in the calculation of various transportation ratios which are provided to those who request it, such as the legislature or others within WVDE or the community. As an example of how the Office of Transportation reviews counties' applications for additional bus funding, when a county has increased enrollment in a given school year, they are able to apply for additional bus funding. However, if you had an increase of enrollment of 2 or 3 students and you request funding for 4 or 5 buses, there might not be justification for that on the application. However, if you provide justification on the application, which we will send out later this month, and the justification was something along the lines of, we have overcrowded buses already, we would look at your ridership percentage and calculate a number of students on average that are on each bus. And we use your active bus count from your certified fleet data to do that as well. So if you're showing that you have on average 70 students per bus, we would say that's probably overcrowding since the average bus probably holds about that many students. So you have buses that are under 77 or 70 passengers that potentially would have more than the safe level of students on the bus. So we could use that as justification or the Office of Transportation could use that as justification for allowing you an additional bus for the year. It may not allow you justification for 2 or 3 additional buses if you only had increased enrollment of 1 or 2 students, but it's a good start in helping justify your need for an additional bus. Now I'd like to move forward into walking you through the actual WOW application. The school bus mileage live report, as well as all the other live reports that you'll see in each data collection section, are fed from the Weavis Web 2.0 application. All of the data that you submit through Weavis Web 2.0's application that is then locked will show up in real time in the live report that you see in WOW. All of the information that you see in the Weavis Web 2.0 program will populate here in the live data report. If you were required to make a change to the data and your file was unlocked on the Weavis Web 2.0 side and you resubmitted, you should immediately be able to log into WOW, view the live report for the specific fiscal year that was resubmitted, and see those changes. This report shows by bus number, each reporting month and calendar year that the mileage was reported. So for instance, I'm logged in to show Kanawha County Schools, bus number 1001 for July of 2014 is showing that it had a total of 125 miles traveled. Of those 125 miles, all 125 miles were regular use miles. A good tactic for reviewing your data would be to review your total miles traveled and sort, as you can sort each column by clicking the arrows at the column header. And each time you click it, it will switch between ascending and descending order. So if you click the total miles traveled column, it will then sort total miles traveled in ascending order. So you'll see that there are some months for specific buses that Kanawha County doesn't have any mileage recorded. Those may be spare buses or buses that just don't get used as often, or buses that were used in the month of July, which usually don't have much or any mileage since that's a month that generally no school is being held. You can also look at the very bottom or resort the list by descending order to see if there are any miles for current month that look really out of sync with what you would expect. So if bus number 610 normally has on a given month 4,000 miles, and this month, the month of May 2015, it would show more than double that, you would know that there's a problem. Scrolling down to the bottom of the school bus mileage live report, you'll see that there are monthly summaries, which give you for each month the total miles traveled and the breakdown of each category of mileage. We also have fuel consumption reported on here just for informational purposes only. We also show a comparison of your current year to your prior year data. So there's a 2015 row that gives you your same information, total miles and all of your different categories, as well as fuel consumption. A prior year row, a difference column giving the total miles differing from the previous year, and a percentage difference compared to that prior year. For Kanawha County, as we see here, there are two variances that will require explanations by the transportation director. As the transportation directors log in, these areas that you're seeing on my screen will have a text box underneath them. Since I'm not a TransDIR user or a transportation director, I'm getting a message that says only the role of TransDIR can respond. So it's not giving me the response text box, but it is still telling me that we need to provide a detailed explanation for the following. Category differs by 10% from previous year, which is the total extracurricular miles and the total other use miles. So when you look at extracurricular miles, you can see that those miles decreased in Kanawha County from 2014 compared to 2015 by 10.8%. So we would need an explanation for that variance. You'll also get this variance message whenever you have a reported value in one year or the other and none in the other year. So in this case, other use mileage has 4,227 miles for 2015, but 0 in 2014. So we would want an explanation to justify why there were no other use miles in 2014. I'll tell you that the categories don't affect your funding other than the vocational use category. If you are a county that participates in a multi-county vocational center, it's very important that you get your vocational use mileage accurate. That will not only affect your funding, but it will also affect the other multi-county career center participants and their funding. So for last year, Kanawha County didn't have any other use mileage. But maybe that's because they had those reported in extracurricular miles by accident. You could provide an explanation for that, and we would not require you to open up your 2014 data that was already certified last year to make any corrections. But it is sufficient justification for why you are showing additional other use mileage this year with none last year. We do ask that when you provide explanations in the text boxes for these variances that you use full sentences and provide us with enough information to understand and know that the reason you're providing is a logical reason. One word or two word answers or little short sentences that just say something like, we had more miles, is not something that we can accept. We would like to see something a little lengthier, and the program will actually give you a notice if it thinks that the explanation provided is not long enough. I'm not sure if there's a character limit on that or how that actually generates, but just make sure that when you're providing explanations in any of these variances on any of the certification collections, that those are good, concise explanations. So once you've reviewed your data, if you see that there are errors that need to be made, you'll need to contact Sherry Sadler in the Office of WVDE Office of Transportation or myself to have those months or fiscal years that require change unlocked. So if Kanawha County were looking at the month of June 2015 and they saw that there was a bus that had no mileage that should, you would need to contact Sherry Sadler to unlock, or myself, to unlock your June 2015 mileage data. You would then go into Weavis Web 2.0, make the change, and resubmit and finalize the data in Weavis Web 2.0. That data will then feed directly into the live report on WOW that we're looking at now, and the difference will be apparent as soon as you pull up the report. If you have submitted a change and then you're fine, or you don't have changes and you're fine with the report as it is on the screen, and you're the transportation director, and you've responded to all of the variances that require responses, type your name in the name box at the bottom and then click the button that you'll see saying certify and submit. That will then generate an email that will come to my account, my director Amy Willard's account, and a programmer's account. And it will include information letting us know that the transportation director for your county has submitted and certified their data, and it will provide us with the explanations that you've typed in the text boxes for the variances that require responses. I will then go into my status summary that you see here and review those explanations. If I'm okay with those explanations, I will manually clear that and approve your explanations within the system. If for some reason the explanation doesn't make sense or it's not enough information for us, then I'll contact you, the transportation director, and I'll have to unlock your WOW file, which will then allow the live report to re-present the text boxes so that you can then change your explanations and resubmit and certify. So there's two unlocking processes that are involved here. One in the Weavis Web 2.0 application, which Sherry Sadler or myself can unlock and is the source of the data in WOW. And then the unlock feature in WOW during the certification process, in which you may have submitted your data and provided maybe an unacceptable response, or if you've already certified your data and the certification window is not closed yet and you've come across something that you need changed. You found something that didn't come up with our analytics at the bottom of the screen and you want it changed because, as I've said before, this is very important data and you want to maximize your funding for state aid purposes. You can contact me and I'll unlock your WOW file, but then you'll also have to contact Sherry Sadler or again myself to unlock your Weavis Web 2.0 file to request that change in the source program that will then be resubmitted in Weavis Web 2.0. That change will show into the Weavis on the Web or WOW application, and then you can resubmit your data. I do want to make one other thing clear. If you are the transportation director and you log in and provide an explanation in one of the variance fields or text boxes, and you have to get out of the program for some reason before clicking the certify and submit button, it will not save those changes. It will not save your explanation. You'll have to type it back in again the next time you go in to certify your data. So please make sure that when you're ready to click the submit button, that you've got enough time that if something comes up, you don't have to leave your computer and log out and then have to start over again. Now, that's just on the WOW side. Once you've submitted your data, if you haven't heard from me over the course of a week or so, you can pretty much figure that your data is approved on our end, and that's the data that we're going with. But know that once you click the submit and certify button, that is the data that we're going with. When you've clicked that button and no other changes are needed, you can then click the submitted report button to see the report that was submitted. At the time of this presentation, Monongalia County, I'm aware, has submitted a report for school bus mileage. If you have no submitted report, as I'm aware Kanawha County does not at this time, it will give you an error that shows, apparently does not give an error, but it will not give you the detail that was submitted since no detail was submitted. It will give you the summaries, and it'll still say at the bottom that information needs to be submitted. I'll switch to Monongalia County and we'll see what theirs looks like. Well, theirs looks the same. That's going to be a programming change that we will need to make, and I will email the transportation listserv. because unless Kanawha County has submitted as of the time of this presentation, I'll try another county. Yes, we'll have to make changes to that, and I will send a notification out to the transportation listserv. So if you're watching this presentation and you are not on the transportation listserv, please ask your transportation director to provide my email that will go out the week of November 16th. One other thing that I want to point out, you can see how I've switched between different years and through different counties on my screen. You'll only have your county as the option when you're logged in. Since I am a WVDE contact for this information, I have access to all counties and can switch through each county independently. However, every time you switch a fiscal year, or go into the menus option and open up another menu, another active application pulls into the active menu. Eventually, you will max out the number of active programs that can be allowed to run at one time. You can click this active menu button and go over and click the end button on the far right, and it will end all those sessions. You can then go back into your application. Now I'll move forward to the fleet report. The fleet report data feeds directly from the Weavis Web 2.0 program, just as the school bus mileage. So any changes that are done in Weavis Web 2.0 for a given school year are fed directly into the WOW report under the lab report heading. You will see here Kanawha County's lab data for fleet information. All of the data that's presented in the Weavis Web 2.0 for fleet is presented here. One thing that I want to point out for counties is that the Weavis Web 2.0 program does not require you to mark the fleet removal option as yes, even if you have marked the removal date for a bus that was disposed of. Therefore, you should go into your fleet report on WOW, sort by removal date, and scan down through the ones that have an N for no in this column, and look to see if a removal date other than a 0 shows up for your county. If that's the case, you'll have to have myself or Sherry Sadler unlock your Weavis Web 2.0 application for your annual fleet data, go in for that bus and mark that option as yes. And as you can see, Kanawha County, for all their buses that are marked no, there are none that have something other than a 0 in the removal date. So Kanawha County is okay in that regard. The reason I point this out is that depending on how the data is manipulated in pivot tables or other data sets or reports, if someone is using the fleet removal column to identify buses that were removed from the system and the removal date is not consistent with the yes or no option that is provided in the fleet removal option or field, then you could get a completely different number of buses at the end of a fiscal year than you would if you used those that have only a 0 for the removal date. So it's very important that you check this. As you scroll down to the bottom of the report, you'll see that there's a summary by category for the buses. That summary by category gives you a total active at the bottom of that list. That is only buses that are conventional regular, conventional special ed, transit regular, and transit special ed, or the A, B, D, and E type categories. That number is then used for an analytic at the bottom where we compare your number of active buses, or A, B, D, E buses, to your total bus operators. As you can see, Kanawha County shows 10 more bus operators currently than they do buses. You typically would have one bus per bus operator. However, there are situations where you would have a bus supervisor or someone else that may not be listed on the certified list of personnel for that fiscal year as a bus operator. In the variance text box, the transportation director should provide an explanation for why their buses exceed their number of bus operators. We typically see that there's no more than 2 or 3 buses more than bus operators due to things like transportation supervisors who are not listed as a bus operator on the certified list, but who are assigned a bus for regular routes. Again, if you have to make any changes, you'll have to have Sherry Sadler or myself unlock your Weavis Web 2.0 file, make the changes there, in which case if you are showing buses in your conventional regular or conventional special ed, transit regular, or transit special ed categories, you may need to review those for possible spares that have not been identified and appropriately reported in your fleet data. So if you have a conventional regular bus, for example, that really is a spare bus, you need to go into your Maintain Fleet Data menu in Weavis Web 2.0, go to that selection for that bus, and in the bus type drop-down menu, you would change the bus type from conventional regular to conventional spare. That's the same process for a conventional special ed bus. It would become just simply a conventional spare. There's no designation between special ed and regular when it comes to spares, only between conventional and transit buses. So make sure that you have properly identified your spare bus fleet when you're certifying your fleet data. If there are no changes that need to be made, put your name in at the bottom, provide a response if needed for the variance, and hit the submit button to certify. Again, that'll generate an email that will come to me, my director Amy Willard, and the programmer letting us know that you've certified your fleet data for the fiscal year. I'll then go into my status report and review your responses, if any, and approve on my end your responses. You can then review your submitted report, and we'll test this one like we did the school bus mileage. It looks like this one is not working either, unless Kanawha County has certified. We'll switch counties and see. Yeah, we'll have to email the programmer about this one as well, and I'll make that update when we do the school bus mileage submitted report update to the transportation listserv as well. Again, if you've submitted your data from the live report in WOW to certify it, and the certification window is not yet closed, you can still contact me to have your WOW program unlocked so that you can resubmit changes. Again, you'll have to have myself or Sherry Sadler unlock the Weavis Web 2.0 application to actually make changes to the source data. Moving on to the ridership report, it works just the same as the other two reports. The live report is generated from the Weavis Web 2.0 source application and is fed in real time to the live report. At the bottom of the ridership report, we have, again, some analytics that we use. We have your number of pupils transported for the current fiscal year that is being certified and the prior fiscal year, showing the difference between those 2 years and a percent difference between the 2 years. We also compare each fiscal year pupils transported to your headcount enrollment that has been certified. That's the reason that ridership moving forward will be contingent upon headcount, second month headcount enrollment being certified. So we have to have your certified headcount enrollment before we can move forward with your your ridership certifications for the second month of a fiscal year. So for Kanawha County, they have pupils transported of 23,305, headcount enrollment of 27,936, which is a difference of 4,631 students, and an enrollment or ridership percentage, I should say, of 83.42%. For the current year, if that percentage drops below 75% or above 100%, you'll be required to provide an explanation in the bottom for the analytic. As you can see, Kanawha County is not below 75%, so there's no option popping up to provide an explanation. We also have an analytic between pupils transported from year to year. So when compared to your prior year, if your percentage difference is more than 10%, then we'll require an explanation for why your pupils transported number increased significantly or decreased significantly. As with the other reports, if you need changes to be made, you'll have to have your monthly data unlocked from the Weavis Web 2.0 program by myself or Sherry Sadler, make the changes there, resubmit them, they'll feed into the WOW Ridership Live report, and then you can certify your data there. If you're okay with the data or you've made changes and you're ready to submit, put your name at the bottom. Again, only transportation directors can do this. Put your name in and hit the certify button that will be available for the transportation directors. And again, as I mentioned for the other two collections, if you've submitted data before the data collection window is closed, you can always ask me to unlock your WOW file and me or Sherry Sadler to unlock your Weavis Web 2.0 file to make those changes. And I do want to remind anyone that if we've unlocked your file to make changes in Weavis Web or in WOW, you'll be required to have those submissions, the additional submissions, done by the November 20th, 2015 due date for this year's collection, and you can refer for subsequent years' collections to the instructions under the timeline sections. Another feature on all three reports, whether they're live reports or submitted reports, is an export option. As of today, those export options do not appear to be working consistently. That should be corrected as of November 16th, 2015, end of business day. I have figured out a workaround for this. You can simply click just below the export option icons and select all your data. Click and hold the right mouse key or mouse button, select all the data, copy it with a right click and then copy. And then you can open up a Microsoft Excel file and paste the data. And there's all your data. You can then manipulate it with pivot tables, or you can use your filter sorts or anything of that nature to review your data, or to have it in Excel just for your own files. You can use this method on any of the reports that are in the WOW menu. However, I will say it's a little easier once these application export options are available to just click the XLS, CVS, or CSV or Word options to export all of your data. I will also make sure that everyone is made aware through the Transportation Director listserv that these options are now working. That now concludes the webinar for certifying your transportation data in the WOW program. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to contact me, Samuel Polly, coordinator in the Office of School Finance, at any time. My normal business hours are 8:15 to 4:45, Monday through Friday. My direct line is 558-6300 extension 2, and my fax number is 558-8867. Email address is sepolly@k12.wv.us. Thank you.